Sometimes an outfit is all about the shoes you wear, and well, this week's test drive is all about that. Hey, and welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson, and what I'm referring to is the 2015 Infiniti QX70 and the rims it sits on. You've heard of LeBron, you've heard of Jordans, but here on the Q70, well, we refer to it as 21-inch rims, and just like shoes, size does matter, and what we have is, of course, above the par. Now, it comes standard with 18 or 20-inch. This particular model, really like the fact that it's blacked out to match the matching trim. You could say copycat is a form of flattery, but what's great with the QX70 is there's nothing else like it, and it really starts with the silhouette, all with this kind of tennis shoe-like atmosphere, this kind of bellowed roof line, all culminating with its huge front hood. Now, the front hood is something similar to that coupe we just test drove with that wave style, and really sets the haunches and really gives a dynamic approach. Nothing else compares. With a clear view of the profile, what you notice is those accents I mentioned earlier, adorned in black on this sport model, matching the shoes and the surrounding trim. Now, what you'll notice is a hint of chrome, and really these wrapping taillights add a signature approach, again separating from the competition. Now, by the numbers, you're looking at a mid-size segment, of course, here, around about 191 inches overall, a wheelbase about 113. Now, ground clearance isn't too high, just over about 7 inches, and just under 6 feet wide. Sweep around to the front, you're going to notice that elongated front end I talked about earlier, and again that wave-like design really giving some pronounced haunches here on the front side. Now again, these headlights mimic the rear end, really wrapping around to those fenders, giving a nice stylized approach, and again separating it from the competition. Now here's that black insert grille, again matching the shoes and the other trim accents, and what's really great, body color everywhere else. Now as for safety, we'll talk about it in the back, but up front you have parking sensors, and you have that kind of collision alert built in, plus you have that dynamic cruise control that's really great when you're hitting the highway. One of the most important areas on any SUV has to be the rear cargo, and before we dive inside, let's look at the design. Really all starting with this built-in spoiler, the kind of sweeping down approach, and again these wrap-around rear taillights. Now even better is safety back here, starting with the backup sensors and a backup camera. Now before we dive inside, let's talk about the smart key system, really that proximity key entry, and it all culminates back here just the same, allow you to keep the key in your pocket and either pull on the handle right here to allow it to raise. Now once this gets out of the way, you're looking at a massive amount of space, around about 24 cubic feet of space, and it's really all carpeted and gives you nice area. Now if you want to more than double, almost triple that amount of space, simply fold the rear seats flat. It's going to give you about 62 cubic feet. When hauling cargo, you really want to transform the back seats into that kind of lay flat platform that we all expect. Now one way to do that is, of course, reach up here and kind of pull on the handle, but for the QX70 they make it easier. Now the handle's built right in here to the sidewall, and you simply pull on it and it tumbles forward. Now these back seats are kind of an 80-20, 70-30 split, allowing you to carry people and cargo at the same time. One thing to think about is what lies underneath the cargo floor. Sometimes it's storage. Well, in this case, well, it's a full-size spare, specifically an 18-inch model. Now, what's even more interesting is the subwoofer that lies in between. That is a Bose sound system and really gives you a lot of bass when you need it. With any hatch, you got to think about a couple of things, and one of them is the impact zone, and what I'm referring to really is right here. Now, I'm about 6 foot tall, and this little area kind of peaks down just a little bit because of the natural curve built into this hatch. So one thing you want to think about is really coming out wide before you reach for this button that's going to power it out of the way. Now it may sound trivial, but a lot of vehicles are kind of putting a lock mechanism that you're going to find at the driver's seat. You pull on the handle and it's going to pop this open, but what Infiniti does, well, they make it a little bit easier. When the vehicle's unlocked, well, this is going to pop right open with ease. But when you lock the vehicle, well, it's going to lock this down too. Now this sport model delivers great horsepower, and all starts in the hood with the 3.7 liter V6 engine. Now by the numbers, that's 325 horses and 267 foot-pounds of torque. Now where that really delivers is really when you sit behind that wheel. Now the engine is coupled with a 7-speed automatic transmission, which does have that clutchless-like feel when it comes to those paddle shifters there on the steering wheel. Now last but not least, this model does come in either a rear-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive version. Now before we climb in front, where it's got plenty going on, really looking at the back seat because it's just as comfortable. Now we talked about these folding down, but one thing that's really great is the reclinability of it, and it really starts right here with this latch. Now obviously you can tumble this forward, but when you put it back in position, you'll see it's really vertical, but simply pull on a little bit more and it's going to recline with ease and really give you a lot more comfort. Now one thing to talk about really is the leg room numbers. Up front you're going to have a whopping 44 inches of space, and that's too much in my opinion. Back here around about 34 inches. So what does that mean? We're going to have a lot of give up front, really increasing these numbers back here probably to around about 37. Once inside, what does leg room look like? Well, pretty much right here, plenty of room to go around. And what I like is, as always, these niches that you find in the front of the seat backs here. Now, one thing you'll see is that this is kind of a quilted kind of feel, really comfortable, really soft. Last but not least is elbow support. And you're going to pull this latch right here. You're going to tumble this forward. And what's great is this armrest is quite high, giving you nice comfort and some dual cup holders. Oh, and a little bit more storage. In the driver's seats, where you're going to find the best when it comes to leg room. Again, way too much in my opinion. Even better, finding comfort, because there's plenty of power adjustments, pretty much moving this seat in any direction. And even better, there's an extra added kind of thigh support. Really right here in the center, you're going to manually pull on it. It's going to give you a little extra support, maybe for those long drives. Now the center of attention on the dash is the huge oversized LCD screen. Now it is touchscreen system, but it also has a lot of buttons to go with it. Now all these buttons up top really refer to the navigation, something we used quite a bit and really was very helpful. Now even better is the surround view system. Now there is a manual button that you can turn that on when you're at slow speeds, really allowing you to kind of navigate into space. And what you'll notice here, that this is actually the front view camera, something a lot of vehicles don't have. Down below the navigation controls, you're going to find controls for the stereo and climate, all with an analog clock in the center. Now these controls for stereo are very straightforward, along with the climate. Now what I like about the climate is it is dual zones, and these climate control buttons really relate to the screen up above, giving you a digital readout for a specific setting with all the mode select in between. Now the engine again was coupled with a 7-speed automatic transmission with that kind of clutchless-like system. Now you can use the shifter here to shift gears, or the paddle shifters once again on the steering wheel. Now here in the center you're going to find controls for the heating and cooling of seats, plus some dynamic driving modes should you need them. Now one thing we looked for quite a bit was some storage that you can easily access to put your phone, or little niches. And really the only thing you're going to find under this little hideout is the dual cup holders. Other than that, the center console is about the only place you can put anything. The center console really is going to be that niche I talked about missing, and what you'll find is it has a deep storage down below with some connectivity built in, and what you'll find up above is a second tier. Now that second tier is kind of that niche I mentioned that was missing, but allows you to kind of put your phones here if they'll fit. Even has access for a cord to come out without crimping it. On the steering wheel, you're going to find buttons for the stereo, but most importantly, really are the ones for the adaptive cruise control. Now, we talked about this on numerous vehicles, but what allows you to do is, in traffic, set your spacing between other vehicles and allow the vehicle's radar to really sense what's going on. Now, once traffic moves out of the way, it's going to get back up to speed, what you originally wanted it set at. Now, on the dash, you're going to find the old standard tach and speedometer in analog form. Now, that's kind of surprising, considering this vehicle does have a lot of innovations. I would assume this area would go more digital. One area buttons you want to become familiar with is tucked down low to the left of the steering wheel. Now this houses the button for the power hatch, for even kind of folding your mirrors in those tight spots, but most importantly really is the sensing of lane departure. Now this comes automatically every time you're in the vehicle and really senses the lanes and allows you to kind of notice when you're going out of them with an audible sound. Now this does get kind of annoying if you tend to sway left or right just a hair, because that beeping does become slightly annoying. But if you want to turn it off, simply reach down and press the button. That does it for this edition of Road Warrior and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2015 Infiniti QX70S. Now, a couple points to remember really is the matching shoes with the accent, the great horsepower under the hood, decent innovations on the inside, and that wonderful cargo in the back. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.